What up, YouTubers? Took me a few minutes to get back here to the next video. Oh, my apologies for that. I've had this video rolling around in my head for like 4 months. Anytime that you make a decision to make a video and title it "The Most Important Words to Ever Fall Out of My Mouth," you better make it good, right? Forgive me, I'm still getting over the flu from a couple weeks ago. Psychoneuroendocrinology. I'm going to give you the official definition of psychoneuroendocrinology. The going rate for a master's on this subject in North America right now is running about $300,000. Disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. I don't have this education. But what I do have is a thirst for knowledge. And so I'm going to read it to you. Psychoneuroendocrinology is the clinical study of hormone fluctuations and their relationship to human behavior. It may be viewed from the perspective of psychiatry, where in certain mood disorders there are associated with neuroendocrine or hormonal changes affecting the brain. That's a mouthful. That's a $100,000 word right there. No, it's not. It's 300. And the official, just for clarification, the endocrine system, this is the definition for the endocrine system. The endocrine system is a collection of glands that produces hormones that regulate metabolism, growth and development, tissue function, sexual function, reproduction, sleep, mood, among other things. In other words, it's everything. In one of my previous videos, I think I talked about this a little bit. The best layman's term I heard for definition. Ooh, I have a wasp wanting to fly in here. Was your endocrine system as the fluids in your body that acts just like the Wi-Fi right? So if you have a cell phone, or if you have a computer and you're at your home and you have Wi-Fi service, you can connect that cell phone or whatever device that may be to the system, right? If you have no Wi-Fi, your system is disconnected and there's no access. That is the very definition of your endocrine system. Your endocrine system, the fluids, the hormones, I wonder if I should look that up. Your cortisol, your adrenaline, your dopamine, your serotonin. I'm missing some. Maybe I should look them up for you. Excuse me. It's what allows you to interact with the planet, right? It was the subject I didn't know anything about. And now that I know something about it, and I've been in that rabbit hole for 6 months, the first rabbit holes were about detoxing and my cancer and all of that. And arbitrarily, by default, by accident, actually, Jesus, thank you, universe, source, Buddha, whoever that is to you, I tripped into psychoneuroendocrinology. And like most people, such as myself, who are seekers that go after information, they go after it to scratch their own itch, right? It's like, I'm broken. I would like to fix this. Tell me how to fix this. That came from my years in 12-step programs. Thank God. Holy crap. Thank God I had Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, I was really fortunate at the age of 20 years old. I was blessed with the experience of standing up in front of 750 people and saying, my name is Sunny. I'm an alcoholic and I'm an addict. Really lucky, because without that beginning, this video wouldn't be happening. I would have died. I was really fortunate that I was running with people who were actually way worse than I was, and they had actually bottomed out and gotten into recovery. And so I just followed along because it was the thing to do. Really lucky that that transpired. And I want to talk about failure. And I want to talk about learning to fail successfully. Right? So, and I have so much I want to say. And maybe I should have made notes. I'm not sure. Thought about it. Didn't do it. Winging it. But I had an epic fail at work. So as many of you know or don't know, I made the decision after surgery. Actually, I made the decision late November, early December, that I was going to take a run at getting up off disability and getting back into the workforce. I was feeling healthy enough. I mean, I literally did, if you watch the previous videos, I came up out of surgery, no need for pain meds, brain fog left, I could breathe. It was like, oh, wow, breast implant illness was real. So much relief. And so January 1st, I started applying for work and got hired. I was offered a job January 3rd. I was offered the position January 3rd, but then some things got caught up with background checks and idiosyncrasies and Long story short, I started February 10th. And hold on 1 second, I need to get some air in my truck. Getting a little toasty in here. My apologies. I got hired February 10th and made it 3 weeks, and I'm so excited to be there. It's just really great to be back into contact with human beings, and got hired for this is my life, right? The only subject potentially on the planet that I can't have an intelligent conversation about is technology. And I'm operating a cell phone clearly. I'm shooting a video. I know how to run a computer. I understand basics. Back in 90 and back in 99 when I went to ITT Technical Institute for Computer-Aided Drafting, I mean, really, computers were really just becoming mainstream. It was, actually, that was 97. I don't even remember. Oh, yeah, it was 97. That was back when, we were still working on floppy disks. You had to save your work like every 30 seconds because there were no automatic saves. And so I had all of the hardware basic understanding. So, and I went to work for a call center. I worked for a company called Alorica, global company. And it's a call center, and they have several projects. I am not allowed to disclose the company that the project I'm working for. I can disclose that I work for Alorica. But what I can tell you is I wound up working on a project that is technical support. Okay, of of all the projects in this building, Jesus, are you sure? And so I just, you know what? I just leaned into it. It's like, okay, right back down another rabbit hole. And it was amazing. And 3 weeks into training, and I'm overstimulated. I mean, I'm overstimulated just being a part of the humanity again. And then you hand me this new data and these new concepts, and my brain is trying to like come up with an analogy so that I could like blend it together so it would make sense and it would stick in my brain and I'd be able to lock onto that information. Because, okay, so here's where neuroendocrinology comes into, and brain health. And I don't really notice this because of how I live my life. So learning new stuff keeps the neuroplasticity of your brain healthy. It's one of the things that they tell you, any longevity, anybody over 100 will tell you, what is the one, don't drink, don't smoke, and never stop learning. Neuroplasticity, the health of your ability for your brain to do its job, learning new stuff all the time. Okay, I'm all the time saturating my brain with new information and new data. Yes, it's true that most of this is, medical and stuff that really interests me. And this particular subject matter, as far as technical support, I was resistant to it the first day. And then it's like, you know what? No, we're going to breathe into this. We're going to go into it and so training, it was very, very overwhelming. And my brain was not locking into data. Or I would hear something wrong. And not understand. And I always supplement anything I'm doing with YouTube. Sorry, YouTube saved my life, can save yours too. January 1st. And so I would come home and I would, go to technical support channels and I would learn these things. And 3 weeks into training, I caught the flu. And man, and I actually did it very well, right? I didn't get a huge fever. I didn't have a lot of diarrhea. I didn't have a lot of throwing up. I didn't have any of, my body just did it very well. I was actually really surprised, but I had this sensation of just being stuck, physically stuck in quicksand or mud. I literally could not physically move my body. So what? I have the flu. No big deal. So I was so blessed because I was sick I left work on a Friday, and I had just met my new team captain. His name is Dorsey, and gave him a really quick picture of, hey Dors, I'm taking a run at getting off of disability and on, back out into the workforce. I have no idea what this is going to look like. As a master project manager, I'm pretty good at predicting stuff. Not a clue on this because I'm in uncharted territory. And then that weekend I got sick. Monday I had called in sick. Tuesday I showed up to work still flaming just sick. Because it got into my chest. And I had to whip out the breathing meds and all of that. And I didn't even have to take breathing meds when I had surgery. I was like, holy crap. And so, I had this just like massive cough. And my trainer came in at like 2:30 and she's like, have you had enough? I'm like, I think so. And I just gone to the bathroom and thrown up. Not a lot, but, and, she said, because of your work ethic, we'd really love for you to go home and come back Monday. and we'll finish. I misunderstood her. I thought she said, we're going to start your training from scratch. That wasn't the case. I only had to cram in 2 days worth of training. And I just cried because it was such a relief to be supported in that way. Training is mandatory. And if you miss, there's only a certain amount of percentage of time you can miss, and certain subject matter you can miss, and then you get let go. So I was stressed, right? And so, I was just so relieved. And so I did that. Was healthier. It's still not cleared up. My chest is gonna not sound good for a while, but what happened was I had and let me back up a second. So what happened was, and then I got to work. So the 2-day, Monday, Tuesday, we did training, got all caught up. And then I had a mock call test, and I sat down to take the test and just started bawling. No clue why exactly. I had anxiety. I absolutely had anxiety out of control. I was able to breathe, do my breathing exercises, and get that under control. I got through the rest of the day. But that evening, my body crashed. It just... And when I say crash, here's what happens. If you've ever been on a roller coaster, if you've ever jumped out of an airplane, if you've ever fallen any distance, that blood from your belly that goes through your legs. That's what happens to me when my body crashes. And at which point I have no physical ability to move. Now, what is that specifically? I used to think I knew. I'm not exactly sure I know now. I'm on my way to find out specifically. There's nothing more sketchy than trying to diagnose yourself, right? Not advisable. That said, there are a lot of doctors out there on YouTube, man. Go educate yourself. But I wound up in emergency Wednesday. I just got up, went straight to the emergency. I can't say that. It took me 4 hours to get there because I physically didn't have the ability to just, my poor husband, had to babysit me through the shower and whatnot. And got to emergency, and my labs were stellar. Perfect. The doctor walks in and she's like, I said, tell me, where's my sodium? Where's my potassium? Where's my, we go, she's like, I don't see people show up in emergency with labs like yours. I'm like, I work really hard at that, so why can't I move my body? And she's like, And they have, at the University of Arizona, that's where my MS records are. That's where my mental health records are. That's where I just got back to United Healthcare in January and had not had a chance to catch up with because I had lost my primary care physician before surgery. So I literally am hanging out here with and then I got the job at Alorica, mandatory training, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. Yeah, that nixed that doctor's appointment. And so the plan was get through training, get into production, get caught up with a new doctor, get caught up with U of A research department. That was the plan until I got sick. Now everything is all backwards. So, but let's talk about failing successfully, right? It was an epic fail. But how do you know where you are until you take a step and fail, right? Okay, so you might take a step and succeed. You might take 2 steps and that second step might be successful. You might take 10 steps all successfully and then take that 11th one and fail. Does that wipe out the previous 10? No, it doesn't. It just means there's a point of failure that needs to be addressed. Has nothing to do with Sunny as a person, has nothing to do with anything at all, except that there was a failure. There's something not quite right. Now, after a very long conversation with 2 doctors and a social worker, the psychiatrist, because I was not forgive me. Chest still doesn't sound great, does it? I had made the request. I said, "Can I see this?" When the doctor came in and said, "Your labs are stellar," and you have really pretty pee. Yeah. I get excited over the quality of biohackers get excited about the quality of how their sweat smells and what their pee looks like. Welcome to Biohacking 101. So I requested, I hit the nurse's bell and I said, can I see the psychiatrist that's on duty? He's like, yeah, I'll let the doctors know. And he just left. I mean, he's just a tech. He's a nurse. And so both my doctors come running in. They're like, "Are you okay?" Whoa. No. I'm fine. I'm not suicidal. I said, but given the fact that my labs are absolutely perfect, this may be all in my head. Which there is really no separation between what goes on in your head and your biological health. There is no separation. It'd be great if people stop trying to do that. So they, because I was not in an emergency, I could only see a social worker. His name was Francisco. And had a long talked to him for probably close to an hour maybe. And we talked it all the way through. And the general thought, again, he had access to all of my mental health records. He looked at them before he came and talked to me. And then after the conversation, 2 things came up. One of the questions he had for me was, "Are you afraid of being well?" And I thought, I have thought of that, right? Hypochondriacs get locked into, and you see it all the time in jails and prisons and hospitals, mental health facilities. They call them frequent flyers. And the reason they wind up being frequent flyers is because of people caring about them. Nobody cares about them when they're not there. So people get locked into being sick just so they have someplace to go where somebody will care about them. And so I've thought about that, and I've run that tape. He says, you've spent so much of your life either traumatized, battling addiction, in active recovery, physical traumas. I've been in multiple car accidents, both my fault and not my fault. But I've spent so much of my life battling my way back from a physical ailment that it was just food for thought. And I thought, I don't think so, but I'll try it on for a while and we'll see. The other thing that came up was and after I gave him the rundown of everything I had done over the course of years, and we were able to run through that very quickly, he's like, I think you just tried too much too fast. I'm like, how else is that going to go down? I make the decision to jump off of disability and get back into the workforce. That means full-time employment to fund my biohacking ventures, to keep that road going, because I'm literally out of things I can do for free. There's lots of things I can do with additional cash flow. That was the whole point of going back to work, was to continue to fund this and fund my stock trading. And who knows, I might be at Alorca a year, might be there 3 years. I don't know. Everything takes way longer than I think it should. But that was the whole motivation of and I have it in me. I know I do. And now that I don't want to die anymore, and it was so interesting because the director, the site director, he's from Washington. I forget his name right off the top. I think it's Eric. I don't remember. But when he came in to meet the new hiring class, one of the things he said is, there's 900 people in this building. What I heard was, there's 900 people that I potentially have the ability to have a positive impact on if I'm successful in my mission. One of the things that Alcoholics Anonymous, and living and breathing that program for 15 years, was the principle that I cannot keep what I have unless I give it away. And so automatically, every single thing I learn goes, it almost bypasses me, right? It's like, I take it, I internalize it, I apply it, and then I want to give it away to somebody else who needs it just as badly as I do. Guess what that means for my family and my kids and my grandkids, and so sometimes they're not so interested. But the point is living the message. We don't carry the mess. We carry the message. That's what 12 steps teach you. So I'm just so excited, right? And then all this new data is coming into my brain, and I'm struggling for sleep because I'm overstimulated, and I get sick, and the disconnect happens, and whatever that is, whether it's an adrenal dump, I have to get to a Dutch test, which is an endocrine, whatever. Got overstimulated, we think. So, work and my mission is on a hard pause. I have a doctor's appointment with a new primary care physician, back in with Banner Health, tied into the U of A next Thursday. She's a DO. Let's pray that she's not overweight. I'm so tired of talking to doctors who can't even manage their own bodies. Let's pray that she's healthy. I have the plan right now is to take my next disability check and dump it at Dr. Stark's office on proper endocrine labs if I can't get them through the U of A. I am going to, the University of Arizona has some research studies going on right now, and I have fallen in love with a new doctor. His name is Dr. Amen. If you're catching up on my Facebook feed, he's a triple board certified psychiatrist who does brain scans. And I apologize, guys. This video is at 29 minutes. This may wind up at an hour, and I apologize for that. I could have cut this up maybe into a few videos. I need to get into a better habit of doing these regularly. I got sidetracked and sick. According to Dr. Amen, could potentially have an ADD problem. Don't you just love it, Sunny? What's wrong with Sunny this week? We're not sure. She's diagnosing herself. Till she can get to proper diagnosis anyway. For the guys that have the $300,000 education. but I think I'm on the right track. What I do know is if I had not taken physical care and dumping the massive amounts of nutrient-dense food into my body, the serotonin, dopamine, cortisol, my circadian rhythm, I've worked real hard to get that turned back around and corrected. We wouldn't be having this conversation at this point at all, right? So now that I'm down Dr. Amen's rabbit hole, I've just got light bulbs going on all over the place. And when I was 10, Del and Galen took me to a psychiatrist, child psychologist, maybe she was a psychologist, Dr. Karp. And because I don't know if they were calling it ADD in the 70s. I was hyperactive. Really hard time making friends, or not making friends, but keeping friends. And I would just get bored. And one of the things that was suggested was a dietary change, right? And I guess this was back when the whole red dye in food and childhood behaviors. Long story short, there was never any follow through with my parents on that particular subject. And by the time I was 13, I was gone, so it didn't matter. But Dr. Amen's work does a brain scan called a PET scan. And PET scan, so I had an MRI done on my brain before surgery, so last October. And there were some little black holes on my brain. I was looking at the images with my neurologist, and I said, "What is that?" And he says, "That's where your body has dumped calcium off of your brain. It's very good." And I had just done that 21-day detox. A PET scan, I'm saying this wrong, PETZS. It looks at the functionality of the brain. So Dr. Amen's work for the last 35 years, going on 40 now, he has the largest vault of brain scans in the world. He has scanned 150,000 plus brains. And because he's a psychiatrist, he went into his profession with the question of, why is psychiatry and psychology the only medical profession that does not look at the health of the organ it's treating? Good question, right? Made sense to me, got my attention. And I've now been down the rabbit hole for the last 4 days on his data, and I don't know what he's got published. I need a brain scan. They're about $4,000. The University of Arizona, though, has some stuff going on research. I might be able to nail one of those for free. That's the plan. I've always had a plan to get myself and my daughter, biological daughter, and my biological grandchildren into research somehow. I was the first one in my family unit to get into active recovery and break the cycle. And I've attempted very unsuccessfully the last decade, the 2000s were all bad. 2000, yeah, we just getting it right. The last 15, 16 years been kind of sketchy all over the place. But given my history, and thank God I'm doing nutrition, I'm doing everything. I know everything I can find to do. Supplement wise, training wise. Oh, Dr. Amen has, and I will be posting some links down below when I get home and get this thing edited and whatnot, to Dr. Amen's research. He has a website. You can actually take some tests. You can figure out what kind of brain you have based on, oh, be honest. Let's not bullshit ourselves. Excuse my French. Sorry about that. Be honest. That's the other thing about failing successfully, right? Smashing the ego is so hard. Thank you for Alcoholics Anonymous. Smash the ego. Get rid of it. It's hard to do, but man, when you can get over yourself and go, yeah, that was an epic fail. How do we fix that? One of the things that I've been, and I apologize. I snorted cocaine every single day of my pregnancy for 8.5 straight months. And I cleaned up 2 weeks before she was born because in 1984 at Stanford University, where she was born, they were just starting to implement the CPS testing of children at birth. So I cleaned up, but that poor little girl. And so I did the next best thing I could do for her, which was give her to my dad. And even though Dad was still a hot mess, he was not the hot mess I was. And he had financial means, and he had some humility in his life, and he knew, Daddy, I have screwed this up bad, and it's not okay what I've done. Can you please try to fix it? And he did. And for all the fault that man was, that wasn't even his fault. Knowing what I know now, biologically, neurologically, my dad did the absolute best he could do. And it's a wonder it was as good as it was. I mean, the man he was 24 years old when I was born. He just turned 25 the month after, 20 days after I was born, he turned 25. So he was 25. He was 3 years from his brain even being developed, I guess. And then he was sitting in the mining industry. And I'm sorry, this phone's moving all around. I'm hot. I keep opening the windows. In the uranium mining industry. He later wound up with mesothelioma. It's a wonder the man had a brain at all, knowing what I know now. Given his diet, all American, white bread, white flour, white sugar, white. Garbage diet, smoked like a train, drank like a fish, in the mining industry, in the uranium, the toxic chemical. It's the wonder the man had a mind at all. And then looking at these brain scans of Alzheimer's disease and cocaine addicts and meth addicts and then just different types of people and different industries, it's like, oh, okay, Dad, you're off the hook. Sorry about that. So's everybody else in my world now off the hook. It's like, oh, you don't have the biological brain out to be any different. But my little girl and my grandchildren have suffered enough. It's over. Needs to be over. Gotta stop. And so I'm living the message as loudly as I can and not be angry and disruptive. Here's what happens for me. I've talked about this in other videos. This channel is for my grandchildren and my children if they choose to. I have 2 stepdaughters and, love them to death too. And when I perceive their behavior as potentially life-threatening, I just go bananas. Bananas, not good. I used to go straight to anger because I want to kill it, right? So we've gotten out of the parasympathetic, or I forget which one it is. I've moved out of the fight. I've stopped with the flight, and I'm just kind of hanging out. Like, can you please stop shoving Dr. Pepper down your throat? And Vanessa, I'm so proud of her. She, before I upload this video, I will get permission to upload it, because she doesn't know I'm talking about her. And I'm not going to upload this without permission from her to talk about her. But I was so flaming proud the other day. Our dad, passed away 2 years ago, and we went on the day of his anniversary of his passing to the cemetery, and we were visiting, and I was looking at her skin. She looked good. And she says, I quit drinking soda 3 weeks ago. I just lost my lunch. I'm bawling my eyes out. I'm like, yes! And her face was so clear and so beautiful. And I was like, yes, she's at least got that far. You know, will we get over Taco Bell? I mean, okay, so in addition to cocaine, I lived on Taco Bell when I was pregnant with her. Literally, crushed ice, Taco Bell, cocaine. That was her diet while she was in the womb. Oh, God. She's 36 now, and she holds her own pretty good. She's never actually gone to, I'm just impressed. You know, I'm impressed with any of my kids or my grandkids that start taking healthy action for themselves. And that's just very heartwarming. I don't interact with them very closely a lot because I'm just not quite there. I'm still kind of sensitive. My temper still flares up. So I kind of keep my distance. The filters, and Dr. Amen talks a lot about filters and ADD. Okay, I have no idea. I need to get in front of a proper psychiatrist and get a brain scan and find out what's really going on at a psychiatric level. And I have been in front of some of the most amazing psychiatrists on the planet. Cottonwood Day Tucson. Number 3 psychiatrist in the United States out there. Missed it. Maybe not. Who knows? I had lots of years of recovery when they told me that I had borderline personality disorder. You want to talk about scary? But then I went to Cottonwood and they're like, not so much. I went through DBT, which is the standard protocol for that. It's also the standard protocol for a lot of things. I did 30 days there. But I was eating really well. And it's interesting to me why I didn't know that this scan was available. And it's not an expensive scan. It's only like $3,000. That's not very much when it comes to potentially doing lots of harm, giving a patient psychiatric meds for the wrong disorder because you didn't go look at the brain. That is just sketchy as hell. Think about that for a second. According to Dr. Amen, there are 8 types of ADD, and which contribute to all kinds of depression, anxiety disorder, blah, 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 blah. you whip out the wrong meds to the wrong, and you have catastrophic failure, which is probably a good reason why every time they tried to put me on any kind of psychiatric meds, after 6 weeks, I could not tolerate the side effects. It made me bananas. So, makes total sense. I just need to get my brain scan and find out, is there something there in addition to the scar tissue in my language center, which is left over from the MS lesions on my brain. Some updates on diet. So I actually went and watched my videos yesterday just to refresh what I had already talked about. I got some things wrong. I had talked about coconut milk in the evening time. Well, first of all, that dropped off. That whole thing dropped. But I said I liked almond milk better than coconut milk because of the fat. Turns out I was wrong about fat. I need more fat, not less fat. And healthy fat. Your brain, the 3 pounds of, is 60% fat. Now, I already knew that the actual physical matter, gray matter, is actually 100% cholesterol. And I already knew that back in 2014 when I went after my MS and I was ingesting the building blocks to rebuild the myelin sheath. Okay, they say it's not possible. And I said, well, maybe, maybe not. But here's what I do know is if I don't have the building blocks, if I'm not ingesting the building blocks to rebuild it, it's definitely not going to happen. I was successfully able to clear 2 of the 3 lesions off of my spinal cord and 2 out of 3 off of my brain. I have 1 in the language center that is significantly smaller than it's ever been. I have 1 shadow of a lesion on the front temporal lobe, and the other one's gone altogether. So that was actually great news. Still making progress. Don't know if the scar tissue in the language center was the cause of the cognitive, not being able to grab information. And I'm going to put this on pause for a minute. Sorry about that. I just had some folks roll up and visit for a minute. I have no idea what I was talking about. What point out I was in the video. I think I was talking about failing successfully, right? The most important words I will ever say. Psychoneuroendocrinology. It's a big word. All you really need to know, if you're one of my kids, one of my grandkids, a friend, you arbitrarily tripped across my channel, please know that your body has fluids going through it that is your Wi-Fi and your connection to the planet. Find out what your numbers are. Find out how it's functioning. And go take care of it. You know, one of the things that I do a lot is mirror work. I have lots and lots of conversations with Sunny. Sometimes they're good. Sometimes they're bad. Sometimes they're real. Right? One of the things Alcoholics Anonymous teaches you to bullshit thyself not. You got to get in the mirror. And you got to ask yourself, given the information that I know, what does it say about my emotional, intellectual IQ to continue to choose to not be healthy? Nobody wants to have that conversation, right? When I'm in a conflict, one of the things, and this comes out all over the place, Thank God for AA. Because it comes out all. Jocko Willink talks about it. Dr. Armin talks about it. Jay Shetty talks about it. Tom Ballou talks about it. Everybody who's anybody on social media trying to make the world a better place talks about it. You got to get in the mirror and ask. Get honest with yourself. One of the things that I always go to bed with is, and I have this wrong, by the way. I have this backwards. I focus all the time on everything that went wrong. I focus all, as a project manager, I was trained to look at what's wrong, how to fix it, how do we make it better. Oh my God, I got to get a tripod. I'm so sorry, guys, that this video is, sorry. Yeah, we down here at Tanaga Creek picking up trash. Most beautiful place in the world. Gotta get honest. And answer the question. What's that saying about me? And am I happy with that position? Now, as I stated, I have it all wrong. I have a and actually it's shifting for me now a little bit. And I think that has a lot to do with the amount of nutrients I'm pouring into my body. I'm able to see the potential of right before I'm seeing wrong, which is new. That's new for me. Some peripheral things going on in my world, with some, people that I know, that there's some wicked cool right going on. I'm like, yes! And there's some way wrong stuff going on in the way right's interrupting the way wrong. I'm like, yes! And I'm seeing that stuff sooner than I'm seeing the catastrophic potential for failure. So that nonstop negativity, because I always approach everything, I always did, like when I was when I was the project manager for Home Depot's installation program, and I held that position for 7 years. And they would always send me these accommodation things from home office with regards to shrink control and profit margins and blah, 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 right in the trash. Because in my mind, they hired me to do a job. Why would you reward me for doing my job? And it wasn't until I spent, this video is almost at an hour. Holy crap. Sorry about, maybe I'm not sorry. I didn't understand what that was about. I was like, why are you rewarding me? it was a train car I missed, and I'm starting to pick up on that. And when I went to, and I talked about this in the other video, it's linked in one of the other videos, Dr. Sapolsky at Stanford University, that was huge for me. Learning why human behavior, especially on the tit for tat. So tit for tat, and everybody's heard that slang, right? Tit for tat. That's actually a technical term where when you create a relationship with somebody, when it's new, somebody takes a risk, right, on the trust issue, and then it works out. So the other person takes a risk, and it's called tit for tat, and that relationship builds. Well, tit for tat can also happen to the negative. And what happens when that tit for tat falls off from the positive to the negative? I can tell you what happens. My marriage, that's what happens. And my poor husband ran into me coming off of a catastrophic failure. Having been shot up with chemotherapy, having backslid out of Bible college, into an affair with a married man, got pregnant, lost the baby, had to terminate. Got shot up with chemotherapy, and boom, he runs into the middle of me. Poor man. And so, but over the course of time, we got caught up to the negative side. And we're now back to the positive side. But I don't know that that ever would have happened had I not gone and gotten the information. Had I not gone and taken care of myself. Had I not gone dumping the nutrient-rich foods down my throat. None of that would have happened. None of this. This conversation would not have happened had I not started chasing down these rabbit holes. So with all of that said, this is at 55 minutes, and I'd really like to cut it at least an hour. Like anybody's going to watch me for an hour. That's the update. That's where we're at. Psychoneuroendocrinology, the most important word to ever fall out of my mouth. Go look it up. Go find out about your body. Go start taking care of it. Please stop dumping sugar down your throats. Please stop throwing sugar down your throats. One of the things Dr. Amen says, ISIS does not have anything on the North American diet. Talk about weapons of mass destruction. Please stop shoving sugar down your throats. Please. I love you. That's why. I love me now enough. I have fallen in love with my body. I have fallen in love with what Jesus did with our bodies. Like, man. Oh, really quick. Okay, so this is going to take a minute. One of the things when I testify or witness to somebody and I'm explaining the Trinity, how I explain this is God so loved us, he created us for relationship. Then he went one step further, and the way most people understand incarnation, right? For whatever reason they do. It's like God loved us so much that not only did he create us, then he incarnated himself in Jesus to save us permanently. Then he incarnated himself again and left the Holy Spirit here with us. That's how I explain it. Okay, let's take that same explanation with the body. Body, mind, soul. You are a trinity. Well, actually you're four, but you're a trinity. You have a mind, you have a body, and you have a soul. You cannot separate any of those. Stop trying. And when you get into cohesive cooperation with that system, and you get you don't have to go down the nerdy rabbit hole like I did. You just need some really basic information about how our bodies are more sophisticated than the International Space Station. We don't even know 100% of a single cell. That's how complicated and beautiful it is. I mean, when we look out into the Milky Way has nothing on the complexity and beauty of our own physical bodies and how it operates. And so really the last 9 months, that's been my gift from the universe, was because I was going to chase after the information. The universe gave it to me. Jesus gave it to me. And, wow, what a ride, huh? I love you. And YouTube saved my life, can save yours too. Till next time, we love you.